increased listening and clear communication. That's something that we want for all children. Welcome to the Special Education Inner Circle podcast. I'm your host, Catherine Witcher, and today we're going to talk about some things that maybe we overlook. We just kind of assume that it's part of how life is right now. But if we start focusing on a couple of these struggles that are happening right now that are affecting our children and how they're listening and how they're communicating, and we think through an easy solution or two. And I've got something for you today that you've probably never seen before, and I'm super excited to introduce you to it. So if we think through some of these solutions, the struggle of maybe feeling like our kids, sometimes even ourselves, right? Like we can't pay attention and we're not communicating clearly and we're not having this, true relationship building or taking in new information and knowledge and mastery. There's just so many things that are affected when it comes to a lack of attention or a lack of ability to listen in our current environment and communicating clearly and understanding how do we sound? How do we sound to other people? So let's talk about the 4 things right now that really are impacting our ability, our children's ability to listen and to communicate. The first thing is our environmental factors. Now, there are things that we can control and there's things that we can't control. And I want you to start thinking about what are some things that you can control when it comes to environmental factors, meaning that is the window open and the cars are beeping their horns and revving their engines outside, on top of we're trying to, watch a show on TV, and then there's cooking happening in the kitchen. And these kind of things happen in our classrooms too. It happens where we have multiple things that are happening and we think, well, this is just how it is. Like the classroom feels busy, but there are some things that you can control. So I want you to think about and really be aware in your environment of what's the noise that you can control, because there are so many that you can't. But if we start thinking about what we can control, it can make a huge difference. Of course, I'm going to bring up the excessive screen time, but I'm not going to go into all of the things about screen time. You know all the stuff about screen time. We can't avoid it. But today, I'm going to share with you something called ForeBrain that's going to help you integrate some technology, which is a lot of time, how can we get like addicted to our screens, right? It's like tech is cool. Tech is awesome. So what if we had technology that didn't include a screen, but we still felt like we were engaging with technology? I'm going to share this with you. The other thing is our impact of technology, meaning that we are doing so much through texting or just kind of sending a message, right? Where we're losing our opportunity to communicate clearly, verbally, or through other measures other than just like, let's send a picture, let's send an emoji. I mean, you and I could have a whole conversation just through emojis, right? Well, our students are doing that too. And sometimes we need some really great, pictures for communication, quick, just get it out there. But sometimes we need to go deeper, right? And we need to see, what does our voice sound like and how are we communicating this to other people? ForeBrain's going to help us do that. So, and here's the last one. And this one's big for me. This one's really big. And we don't talk about this enough. Listening fatigue. Like, I just can't listen anymore. Like I need some quiet in my life, right? I know you as a parent or as a teacher, you're like, yep, every day I feel that. Our children are feeling that too. Our children are feeling like this is hard to listen to all the things all the time. Listening fatigue is real. So let's talk a little bit about ForeBrain. I found them because I'm always looking for the best of the best, just some innovative technology, solutions, easy, accessible, not going to add more to your to-do list, right? I know your to-do list is super long. ForeBrain is something that can be used for 15 minutes a day, and that has shown that there can be some real true improvements in listening, memory, comprehension, communicating, so many different things, 15 minutes a day. And it's not 15 minutes extra. I know you just said, you're not going to put something on my to-do list. How am I going to do this without a to-do list? You can actually integrate this in, and I'm going to show you how to integrate this into your current day to help all the children in your household. Okay, this is not just for students who have learning differences or children who have, learning differences. This is everybody can benefit from this. And I can tell you that, from experience of I have used ForBrain, I have put it on and I'm like, ooh, that was my reaction. Ooh, when I put it on. I've also been taking ForBrain to our Master IEP Coach retreats. So Master IEP Coach retreats are where parents, teachers, admins, and therapists who are Master IEP coaches in a way that they're helping others. They're running their own independent practice to help others through the IEP process. They come to a retreat and they can come a couple times a year. Okay. So these retreats are where we dig deep into all the special education strategies and their business and how they're helping change special education, how they're helping families, how they're partnering up with community organizations. Okay. So we're doing all these things. And I bring materials and I bring innovative things to them so they can experience them themselves so then they can help their clients. So I've had Master IEP coaches use ForBrain and their response was the same thing. Ooh, like, oh, I could see how this is going to work. So, okay. So let me show it to you. And if you're listening to this on Apple Podcasts, don't worry. There is a link below here where you can go see ForBrain right on their website and use the link because you'll save 30%. A lot of times ForBrain has 20% off or they have other kind of things that are happening, but I've got a link for you that's 30% off. So you're going to want to make sure to use the link or to use the code Master IEP. But I'll have both of those underneath here so you can go ahead and see what we're talking about. For those of you that are watching the video, check this out. So this is ForBrain. You can see, okay, and it comes in this really cool carrying case. So easy to travel. Take it in the car, take it on the go, take it with you, okay? And this is what ForBrain looks like. Looks like a headset. And you would assume that you put these little earbud things inside your ear, but you don't. You don't put them in your ear. You put them in front of your ears. So it uses, and I wrote it down to make sure that I get this correct, bone conduction transducers, okay? And it's working with the temporal bones right in front of your ears. So what it's doing is it's going to enhance the listening quality of your voice. Meaning that instead of your voice having to go out into the world and then come back into your ears, you actually get immediate feedback of what your communication sounds like. So I'll show you, like here, you just put it on, all right? And we're going to see if I can get this done here. And you're just going to set this right in front of your ears. And then I put the microphone in front of me. And I would just talk and I would be able to hear almost like a microphone inside my ears. And I know exactly what I sound like. I know exactly what's coming out of my mouth, whether it is me trying to do sounds or it's trying to, I'm going to deliver a speech and what does it sound like? Whatever I'm saying is just enhanced to the level that I'm like, oh, that's what it sounds like. It makes the listening really intense. So I was talking to some people from ForBrain because I always check out and make sure, like, I talk to the companies, make sure everything's legit. And they were telling me, for example, there was a little girl who is pronouncing words incorrectly on a regular basis. So perhaps she's saying the word yellow wrong and it's coming out lello, right? Like that happens a lot. Like we have a lot of kind of articulation issues, but this was not an articulation issue that was something that the child hadn't developed how to do it. She honestly thought she was saying the word correctly. And when she started using ForBrain and she could hear that she was saying it different than the person next to her, all of a sudden, she really starts working on her words in a different way. And she's like, oh, I need to sound like that. And she could hear it differently. So that's just one of the, examples. It's used in so many different ways, but I'm going to share with you. So 15 minutes a day, I promised you we were going to talk about how could we integrate something like ForBrain into your routine that's going to help with increased listening, increased memory, better articulation, clearer communication, understanding how we sound to others and being able to listen to them. So let's talk about those 4 struggles, right? So we talked about all the chaos, all the things that are happening. So, in theory, we could say, create a calm and quiet environment. Again, a chuckle. When I say that, I'm like, yeah, if we could do that, we'd have that like all the time, right? We can't always do that all the time. But when we use something like ForBrain that enhances what the child is saying, Okay, so let's just say we're going to have quiet time, and that's going to be reading. And we've got, whether you're a mom and you've got a couple of different kids that are going to work on reading in their own way, you've got your classroom as a teacher, you're going to work on reading, but we have to do some read alouds. Okay, so you could have the child put on Forebrain and do a read aloud, which makes it much more interesting. Because if you're just like, yeah, right, like my child's going to sit there and read to themselves out loud, they're not going to do that. I'm telling you, the experience with Forebrain is that, ooh, and you start reading out loud and you're like, that's what I sound like. This is really interesting. The other thing is there is a mic that connects to this Forebrain, okay, piece of technology, where if you are the parent, teacher, older sibling, you're going to read to the person, you could have that same experience of your voice going directly into their ears. So that chaos of what is happening around, especially think busy classroom, busy house, lots of things going on. You want to sit down and read, but it's hard to pay attention, especially for our learners that this is something that might be a new book, or maybe it's not so interesting of a book, but we need to work on the things inside of this book. Forebrain, super cool way to make an environment feel more calm and quiet because you're able to have focused listening. This is so important. I talked about screen time being an issue and how I'm like, I'm not going to dig on that because I'm as guilty as the next person is using too much screen time for myself. And I let my kids have too much screen time. I don't know who judges too much screen time, but it just always feels like it. Always feels like it as a parent. So you can use technology because Forebrain does not use a screen. You can use technology, which still feels fun and engaging, and just integrate that into our play. Just typical play that's happening in our classrooms and in our school. We have to do things to really engage students sometimes because, like I talked about, texting and the communication, that's just, we could have a whole, conversation just through emojis, right? And we don't want that all the time. We want to have, our words, our thoughts put out there. And we want to have our emotions put out there. Like we want to be able to express them as best as we can. We want to help reach that potential of wherever a child is at verbally, whether we're making beginning sounds or we're making full words or we're having full conversations. This is going to really help focus and increase that confidence when it comes to face-to-face communication, because what has happened, right? Think about this. We have this technology that's just like, well, we'll just send a little picture or an emoji or something over to, our friend, and we'll just have this conversation. Then we lose our confidence when it comes to working with each other face-to-face, having conversations face-to-face. So if we feel more confident in how we sound in what we're saying, then we feel more confident in our face-to-face communication. And that's something that we need to be very diligent about as the adults who are raising and influencing this next generation. They are having less and less face-to-face communication. And we need to make sure that we are integrating anything that we can to bring about excitement, confidence, and this connection in our face-to-face communication. So having this ability to hear, like, is our speech clear, and remembering what is being said or read to or that we're being taught, and being able to have these communication, true conversations and interactions, it's so very important. So I want to encourage you that if you're like, the rest of us, right, where we're like, it feels like kids don't listen, attention spans are gone, memory's gone, communication's gone, all these things seem to be suffering. I want you to look at what are some alternative things that you can do to relieve that listening fatigue, to relieve this overwhelm, this lack of connection. And I'm going to encourage you to go check out Forebrain. This was one of the solutions as I'm hearing the struggles of what teachers are saying are happening in their classroom. I'm hearing the struggles that parents have. And what I'm just seeing, in my own family. And I'm like, this is an issue that we all need to address. And Home to School really working together on this and working on things within the IEP that can help boost memory, increase listening, have clear communication. And a tool as simple as Forebrain can help us do that, can make our lives easier as we help in these areas. I'm all for. something that's going to make our lives easier, and we're going to see results with it. So again, check out those links about Forebrain, and just know that you're not alone. You are not alone if you are struggling, feeling like kids are not listening like they used to. They're not communicating like they used to. You're not alone, and you're not wrong. That is true. That is happening. And if you know somebody who's struggling with this too, if this has been a conversation between you and your teacher friends or moms, if this has been a conversation between you and your mom friends, could you go ahead and share this episode over with them and say, hey, like, you're not alone. Like, listen, there's these areas. It's true. It's not just us. What do you think about this? Maybe we need to try some of these things. We just go ahead and share this. Every time you share this, it helps more parents and teachers get the information that they need, get some ideas that they need to truly build an IEP that's going to prepare a child for further education, employment, and independent living. I'm also going to put a link here where you can find out more about Master IEP Coach programs. I talked to you a little bit about Master IEP Coach retreats. There's all different ways to become a Master IEP Coach, whether you want to earn your certificate so you are learning all the Master IEP Coach strategies for yourself at your IEP table, or if you want to hop on a Master IEP Coach fast track because you want to help yourself and you want to help others. And maybe I'll even get to see you at one of the upcoming retreats. I'm going to put those links below there too. All right, everyone. I'll see you next time on the Special Education Inner Circle podcast.